The following is a 5 for 2 production.
What the hell was that?
And now, virtually live from somewhere in America, it's the show you love. It's What the Hell Was That?
And welcome back to another fantastic episode of What the Hell Was That? Podcast number 3, folks. We are rolling. So I'm your host, Todd Baker, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Kevin Monavon. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
How we doing, Todd? How's everything going?
Awesome, bro. And I got some good news for you and the people of America. Tonight, we are not going to talk politics at all. At all. Tonight, we're going to pick a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts, rock and roll. Which is why I'm wearing the sunglasses tonight, folks. That and the fact that I might be a little high.
So, Sam, what's with the sunglasses, Sam?
You wouldn't be high by any chance, would ya? No. We're not going to go into Sam Kinison bits right now, although we are going to be talking about dead rock and rollers throughout the show. But speaking of recently departed, Jerry Stiller, God bless you. Thank you for doing the intro for us, although really we stole it from Rush's 30th anniversary video, so hopefully Getty and Alex won't sue us. So, folks, tonight we're going to talk about rock and roll. As a matter of fact, Kevin, I'm going to give you a little homework assignment right now. I want you to come up with your top 10 list of bands who are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet should be, and we will compare a little bit later. So there's your assignment for you. In the meantime, folks, we've got a lot to talk about. I've recently discovered, as a Ozzy Osbourne and Randy Rhoads fan, that I'm literally only 10 miles away from the actual plane crash site where Randy Rhoads lost his life back in 1982. So hopefully we got some time. We're going to take a little road trip out to Leesburg, Florida, and I will show you that whole scenario if I can get on the property. In the meantime, kick back, relax. We're going to be talking about rock and roll for the next half hour. You're watching What the Hell Was That?
Attention headbangers, moshers, thrashers, slam dancers, and stage divers. Or at least those of you who used to do those things before you got old. Do you miss your glory days in the pit? Are you sick of what the radio calls heavy metal? Tune in to Damage Incorporated, the retro metal podcast straight from the glory days of old. Only at Monty610.podbean.com. That's the Damage Incorporated podcast, only at Monty610.podbean.com. Bang your head.
All right, folks, welcome back to What the Hell Was That? Kevin, I noticed we have a new sponsor this week. I didn't know about that one.
Hey, if I'm doing all this production work for you, I might as well plug my podcast. You should listen to the podcast, Todd. I know you're not a big heavy metal and thrash metal fan especially, but it will remind you of the old WSR days and bring back some fond memories of when you and I actually first met.
There you go. All right, fair enough. I do have some fond memories of WSR. Those winter mornings walking across campus to try to get into the building at 11 in the morning on a Sunday, knowing that no one was going to be listening whatsoever, but still... hey, I was playing my music. I was following my dream of being a DJ, and, well, that's another story altogether. But you know what, Kevin, if you're going to plug your stuff, I'm plugging mine, too. Folks, I got a brand new book called Ticket Stubs. This is actually the old one. This is all about the band called the Drive-By Truckers. But I'm working on a book currently called Ticket Stubs, A to Z. AC/DC to ZZ Top. Every single great rock and roll concert story that I can think of or remember. So look for that coming out sometime in the near future. I'll probably have to finish doing a little editing this summer. But anyhow, stay tuned. And Kevin, you got your questions ready yet? You got your top 10?
Still working on it. Kind of playing with the order a little bit.
I'll start first and you can finish up. So we'll be right back with our top 10 list of deserving bands for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Coming right up on What the Hell Was That? Welcome back to What the Hell Was That, folks. Tonight we are talking rock and roll and only rock and roll, starting with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which personally I think is kind of a joke at this point, especially if you've seen the yahoos that have gotten in the last couple of years. So, Kevin, while you are working on your list of top 10 deserving bands, I came up with a band of top 10 least deserving bands that are actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So you can agree to disagree with me on this one, Kev. Jump in anytime. But here's my list, starting with number 1, and I go chronologically from the earliest time they were put in to the current day, because that's the way I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should do it. If you had a hit in '72, you should be in before someone who had a hit in '92. That's just the way it should go. Anyhow, top 10 least deserving bands currently in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Number 1, the Velvet Underground. Now, look, I love Lou Reed as much as anybody, but Velvet Underground was nothing but a New York critic favorite. They had Andy Warhol paint a big banana, and they had 2 hits. Big fucking deal. You want to put a good New York underground band in? How about the New York Dolls? At least they were rock and roll. Number 2, we got the Sex Pistols. Pretty damn ridiculous. They weren't even a real band. They were made up, for crying out loud. I mean, the only reason that Johnny Rotten got that job was because he was able to lip sync to an Alice Cooper song, I'm 18. So, God bless Alice Cooper for actually kind of creating the Sex Pistols. So, look, I respect the Clash. I love the Ramones. Green Day can suck a cock. But Sex Pistols never deserved in, don't deserve to be in. Number 3, talking about whores, Madonna. Kevin, I don't know about you, but look, she had a couple hits in the 80s. She made lots of money. She was on MTV every damn day for about 3 years. Then she disappeared. She married Sean Penn and went crazy, and who gives a shit about her now? First of all, she's not even rock and roll. Why is she in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Madonna, out. Same thing for number 4, ABBA. Look, I liked ABBA. They had some good hits. They were pop music. But you know what? Look, if we're going to include pop music of the day, you can put in the Bay City Rollers and the Osmonds, for crying out loud. They sold millions. Number 5, the Stooges. Now look, I know the Stooges were very influential, especially for bands like the Ramones and whatnot. But you know what? We already got Iggy Pop in. Same thing as Lou Reed with the Velvet Underground. You got the main guy in, you don't need the rest of the band. If you want to put a good band in from Detroit, how about MC5? Number 6, Red Hot Chili Peppers. These guys were a joke. I mean, Anthony Kiedis just wishes that he had half the funk of George Clinton. And, the only reason they got famous was because they got George in the studio taking care of their first record. So, move along. Number 7, and this is a recent one, Radiohead. Radiohead? Are you kidding me? This is like for sad, pasty, depressed white kids. It's not rock and roll, folks. Get it out of the Hall of Fame. And that goes right along with number 8, another recent admission, Roxy Music. Name one hit from Roxy Music. I dare you. Number 9, and this is actually a tie between 2 completely incompetent rappers, Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. Who gives a shit? At least Tupac could act, again, rap does not belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. At least Public Enemy had a song with Anthrax. At least Run DMC did a song with Aerosmith. What the hell do these jackasses do? You'll never see them on the radio anyhow. And the number 1 undeserving artist currently in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she just got in last year, Whitney Houston. Folks, come on now. The only thing rock and roll about Whitney Houston is the way that bitch died. Please, give me, hey, maybe someone would have checked on her in the bathtub, she'd still be alive right now. The only reason Whitney Houston's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is for the amount of money that she made Clive Davis. That's it. Now, on to the top 10 most deserving bands that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Kevin, what I'd like to do, so we don't have to go back and forth for all of our 10, is I have a good feeling that some of mine on my list are probably going to be on your list. So let me see if I can guess the ones on my list that may be on yours, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'm willing to bet, being that today is the 10th anniversary of his death, that you've got Ronnie James Dio on your list.
You are correct. Ronnie James Dio is on my list.
I knew it. I knew it. Well, he deserves it. Rainbow. His solo work. 2 of the best Black Sabbath albums ever made. Ronnie deserves in. Kevin, tell me about your feelings why he got snubbed on the Black Sabbath bill.
Purely and 100% because of Sharon Osbourne.
That dirty whore.
There you go. You said it.
All right. I'd be willing to bet that you have Judas Priest on your list.
You are correct, Todd. I have Judas Priest on my list.
I knew it. And they deserve it. They are number 5 on my list. I don't know where they rank on yours.
They rate number 9 on my list.
I'd be willing to bet that you have Steady Teddy Nugent on your list.
You are correct, Todd. Wow, you are just reading my mind this evening. I've got Ted Nugent in at number 5. Number 5 on my list.
All right, I've actually got Ted in at number 2 because, again, I like to go chronologically, and considering he started back in the early 70s, he definitely deserves it. So, all right. And let me see. Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar is on my list.
I know it!
It's almost like you know me, Todd. It's almost like you have listened to records with me before.
Either that, Kev, or we've got a script.
No. The number 1 rule of reality television, Todd. Make a completely scripted program look unscripted. There, that's the rule.
We're doing our best, Kev. We're doing our best. All right, so let's fill in the blanks here. For me, the number 1 most deserving band not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the Meters. The Funky Meters from New Orleans, a classic. You may not know them, but trust me, you've heard them. They should be in for Sissy Strut alone. The number of rap artists that have stolen beats from the Meters just goes to show that the Meters deserve in before any of these rapping yahoos. Kevin, agree or disagree?
Agree. Absolutely. 100%.
Now, we agree on Nugent. That was my number 2. I had Blue Oyster Cult in there. One of our personal favorites from the WOSR days. We'll tell that story another time. But number 4, I had Styx, which I know is one of your favorites as well.
One of my favorite bands. I had Styx in at number 3, so we're really close. We're really close there.
There you go. So we already agreed on Judas Priest and Pat Benatar and Ronnie James Dio. As a sideman, Randy Rhoads. I mean, I know Ozzy deserves it, but Randy deserves it even more, I think, for the number of guitarists that he has inspired over the years.
Amen.
I will throw in one cheesy 80s metal band, Motley Crue.
Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses are in there. Motley Crue definitely deserve to be, for sure.
If Def Leppard is in there, Motley Crue deserves to be in.
Amen. All right.
And finally, my last selection, and it's again they should have put this guy in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when he was still living. They had a chance. Warren Zevon. God bless Warren Zevon. Come on now, folks. Poor, pitiful me. Lawyers, Guns, and Money. Werewolves of London, even though it's his least favorite song to play. God bless you, Warren. I miss this guy every day. I was lucky enough to see Warren Zevon 8 times, and I treasure every single one of those memories.
You missed a couple great ones, Todd. Play It All Night Long. Excitable Boy. I mean, what other hit song played on classic rock radio mentions rape and murder?
Not only that, but the drive-by truckers cover him. So, if DBT likes Warren, you know he's good. So that's my top 10, and we're we're going to talk a little bit about a sad part of rock and roll now, and that's those that we have lost over the last few years. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to Jerry Stiller for all the laughs, and also Fred Willard, who passed away today. God bless him. So there's some rock and roll and some hilarity going on right now. And if you watched last week's show, you know that we ended the program with a little bit of Tutti Frutti. And that is for one of the rock and roll icons, Little Richard. God bless him. 87 years young, passed away from cancer, but he will never, ever be forgotten. So, Kev, we're going to come back with a little more of this rock and roll memorial in a moment. We also have viewer mail coming up. And hopefully, if I got enough time, me and Mom are going to take a drive out to the Radio's crash site, and we can show you where the plane went down. So we'll be back with more What the Hell Was That? Well, Kev, speaking of dead rock stars, this is one of my personal favorite items that I still have. My autograph from Warren Zevon and a business card from Leho Fuchs in England.
Nice.
So, yeah. So now, all right, I give you my top 10. We've already agreed on at least 4. What's the rest of your top 10 list?
So my other 5, we kind of touched on this with the Ronnie Dio and the Sabbath stuff, but Ozzy solo. I mean, just say what you want about Ozzy, Sharon or whatever, but Ozzy's solo career every bit as influential and lasting as Black Sabbath. Whether you like the Black Sabbath stuff or his solo career, I obviously prefer the Black Sabbath. I don't think Ozzy's really done a good record since Ultimate Sin, but
I would have said Blizzard of Oz.
What? Come on, Diary of a Madman.
Two good records.
All right. Okay, Ozzy solo. I'm going to kind of combine these two. My 7 and 8 were both extreme metal picks. Well, they used to be extreme, not so much anymore. But Slayer and Megadeth. I think both those bands deserve.
They're in the big 4. I'll give them that. Metallica's already in. Eventually, it's like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana, and where the hell's Alice in Chains? Alice in Chains got dicked.
Right. Alice in Chains are the Anthrax of the big 4.
All right, who else you got?
Seattle big 4. All right. Then my number 4 pick, Boston. Come on.
Hey.
The first Boston album. Tom Schultz, pioneer in home recording. I mean, he did that album in his basement. He was self-isolating before, decades before COVID-19.
And was he the one peeking on his stepdaughter, or was that the other guy?
That was the other guy that killed himself.
Hey, look, I'm all for Boston. I'm for REO Speedwagon. I'm for Meatloaf. Batted to Hell sold millions of copies. Probably almost as much as Dark Side of the Moon. Where the hell's Meatloaf? AOR deserves to be in there.
My number 1 pick, well, it was my number 2 pick because Ronnie Dio was actually my number 1 pick, and we both agreed on him being in the list. But Iron Maiden, come on, for the metalheads, Iron Maiden, Eddie. For Eddie alone, Iron Maiden deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I agree with you on that one, Kevin. The only reason I didn't put him in is because I put Judas Priest, and I didn't really want to, I figured one was enough, and they can get in on the second round. All right. Well, I think those are great nominees, and I know Jan Wenner's not in charge of this anymore. They got the pinhead from iHeartRadio running it now, so I don't know how much worse this can get. But, Kevin, I think we should do more of these music shows. This thing's come off easy tonight. So, we should do shows where we just talk about concerts we've been to together. That way, we're both talking about the same thing. And, and like I said, folks, we got a little more fun on the way, so stay tuned. If we got the time, I'm going to take you to the plane crash site where Randy Rhoads met his final fate. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more What the Hell Was That? Well, folks, I did forget to mention one recently departed rock star. John Prine died from coronavirus. God bless him. And I'm just happy to say that I actually got to see John Prine live at least once. So, again, folks, there's plenty of folks out there, plenty of rock and roll we're going to be missing. Oh, wait. Good God, we forgot the Professor, Kev.
Oh, my God. I'm telling you, Todd, when the professor died, the whole world just went to hell.
I listened to Rush for 30 days straight when Neil Peart died, and Neil Peart. Peart, it's Peart, right?
Peart.
I always said Peart. I was always wrong. I would have made an ass out of myself had I met him.
I was one of those guys that said pert, so.
I was too. But God bless you, buddy. You know, to think that we'll never ever see Rush together again is truly a bummer. But at least we got plenty of videos.
Something tells me, I'm just telling you, something tells me Geddy and Alex will play together again. I doubt they'll call it Rush, but I think something may happen. Who that drummer will be, that's a show for another time.
I'm guessing the guy from Foo Fighters.
So, Todd, you realize we actually have some viewer mail this week.
Bring it on! I heard a couple people responded, so let's.
Real people.
Give me your best shot, America.
So, first, this one's I'd say this is about half positive. This is Taryn from Cincinnati. She says you're funny, but too political. Just being honest.
Well, look, sweetheart, that's why I had the puppies and the cute videos last week. They were just for you. So if you want to come on the show and brighten my day up, you're welcome anytime, dear. Next.
All right. Dave from St. Augustine, Florida writes, glad to see you are getting back on the creative horse. Your political and social ignorance never ceases to amaze me, but freedom of speech and opinions are what make this country great.
Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Dave sounds like a Trump supporter. However, I'd be willing to bet that Dave probably smokes weed because he is at least logical and rational with his thinking. So, you know, he might be one of those guys that probably, you know, would have voted the other way but just couldn't stand Hillary. I don't know. Anyhow, next.
Okay, well, speaking of weed, Gabe from Columbus says, I think I bought weed off that guy in college. I definitely smoked bongs with that guy in college.
Okay, first of all, if anyone knew me in college, you would know that I did not have enough money to buy my own weed, let alone enough to sell to anyone else. So that's impossible. Now, that being said, I did attend about 22 Grateful Dead concerts from 85 to 95, and if I could remember every person I smoked a bong with, I didn't smoke that much weed.
All right. You're going to enjoy this one. Katie from Stamford, Connecticut says, I would die, and she puts die in all capital letters, to meet the Reverend Todd. When is he going to be back on the air, and how can I meet him?
Well, Katie, my first question to you is, are you over 21?
She does not mention an age.
Secondly, you can meet the Reverend anytime you want, darling. I got his phone number in my Rolodex, so, you want to talk to the Reverend, you got to get through me. So you send Katie my way, Kev.
Okay, I am not your personal dating service. I'm just the producer of the show. All right, Todd, I think you better prepare yourself for this one.
All right.
I'm going to use a last name for this one. Mr. Blanston, Gern Blanston, from Columbus, Ohio, writes, you can't hide from me, Baker. The city of Columbus wisely shut down your little community access TV station. What a waste of city resources that garbage heap was. And I contacted Mark Zuckerberg personally to make sure that you were thrown off of Facebook forever. Now, don't you just think that you can come onto YouTube and foul up the internet with your filth. He put filth in all capital letters. Don't count on it. Not on my watch. This is all in capitals. Radicals against Baker will rise from the ashes again.
Well, dude, I remember this guy. He protested at my 30th birthday party at Chelsea's. Listen to me, you yammering yahoo. This is another Trump-loving, flag-waving moron who supports the idea of freedom unless it comes to a woman's choice. or legalization of marijuana or gay marriage. Let me tell you something, Gurn. Anytime you want to come on my show, you are more than welcome, buddy. Set him up for the Zoom meeting, Kevin. Because let me tell you something, buddy. This is still my town. This is still my show. This is what the hell was that? Hey, what happened to the Randy Rhoads footage? Sorry folks, we ran out of time. But I did say that, we'd do it if we had the time. So that's why they call it a teaser. But hopefully next week we'll have a chance to take you out to Leesburg, Florida, and show you a little bit of rock and roll history. And since we do have a couple minutes left, I wanted to add on a couple deserving bands to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's consideration. Again, my qualifications to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is longevity, sales, and hits. That's it. If you got the hits, you got the sales, and you're still around, you deserve to be in. So, a couple bands we forgot to mention that didn't make Kevin and I's top 10. Bad Company. Fantastic British band. Plenty of hits. Can't Get Enough. Feel Like Making Love. Rock and Roll Fantasy. Bad Company itself. That's a badass song, man. Those guys deserve to be in. What about REO Speedwagon? Again, huge hits in the 70s. Riding the Storm Out. High Infidelity alone sold 40 million copies and had 4 hits. REO Speedwagon definitely deserves to be in. Meatloaf, as I mentioned before. Batted to Hell sold 43 million copies. It went platinum 14 times. I guarantee that's probably more than Tupac Shakur or Biggie Smalls ever sold. What about Motorhead? Lemmy deserves to be in on his own. But, let's put the whole band in just to be fair. Motorhead definitely deserves to be in. Rainbow, we mentioned. Ron James Dio and Ritchie Blackmore. Kick-ass British band. Definitely deserves to be in. Triumph, the other 3-piece rock band from Canada. Rush always got the acclaim, but goddamn it, Triumph was a fantastic band in their day. There's still some 80s metal bands that I think deserve to be in. Quiet Riot, Randy Rhoads' original band. What about Twisted Sister? They busted their ass for 10 years before they got a first hit. And you're still hearing these bands on commercials every day. Scorpions, come on now, the Scorpions? Thin Lizzy, Boys Are Back in Town, and Jailbreak. Just for that record right there, Thin Lizzy deserves to be in. And what about the Runaways? One of the first all-female rock bands, featuring both Joan Jett and Lita Ford. Jesus Christ, they definitely deserve in. But, folks, we got more rock and roll stories next week. I didn't even mention the fact I used to live in Warren Zevon's building, so we can tell plenty of Zevon stories. And of course, there are plenty of other celebrity deaths that we have not gotten around to yet. Speaking of celebrity deaths, I'm reading a fantastic book all about rock and roll celebrity deaths by Pamela DeBar right now. And you may be wondering, why am I pitching someone else's book? Well, I'd like to have Pamela get on the show sometime. So, Pamela, if you see this, we would love to have you on our little podcast here. So, folks, stay tuned. We'll be back with more fun next week. And before I go, I just want to give out some shout-outs to some birthday wishes to friends of mine. Herb Shupp, fantastic drummer for the band Watershed, one of my favorite rock and roll bands of all time. Happy birthday to you there, Herbie. My buddy Bram Lehman, one of my best friends in the world. God bless you, Bram. Don't get to talk to you much, but when we do, we always have a good time. And my cousin / lawyer, Dennis L. O'Brien. So God bless you, Dennis. Just had a kid 3 years ago, and he's my age. God bless you, buddy. You're going to need it. So anyhow, folks, you've been watching What the Hell Was That? We'll be back next week with more rock and roll fun. Stay tuned. Rocky, stop eating grass.